Hello, BookTube. I'm here to talk about a book. I suppose it fits under Will Shawn Like It? Even though it's part two, it's part two of a trilogy, and it's probably the newest book that I've read. I don't know, in a long time, probably a decade. It is Don Winslow's City of Dreams. Sorry about the lighting. My lamp that was behind me here has given up the ghost. It was broken and it just finally, when it slipped and fell down, it just broke. Anyway, Don Winslow's City of Dreams. It's part two. Um, I'm not sure what the series is. Well, it's about Danny Ryan. Danny Ryan trilogy, but I'll call it. And it's according to Amazon .co.uk, it came out on April 18th. It was released. I received it a couple days later, thanks to a great. Um, oh God, it's hard to show it. Sorry, a great subscriber, Freeman, and he purchased for me the first one as well, and I enjoyed it. It's not like it's not top shelf literature in any shape or form. But I did enjoy it, and Dan Winslow is a veteran writer. He knows what he's doing to make a bestseller. It's very cinematic in many ways, but it says he's author of 23 acclaimed award-winning international bestsellers. There's the Cartel trilogy apparently. Um, that sounds interesting. So that might be, and it says that's been adapted for TV and will appear as a weekly series on FX in 2023. Don't know if it's starting already. I don't know what channel that is, so I don't watch TV. But anyway, this carries on about Danny. In the first book, Danny has fled New England, Providence, Rhode Island, to be exact, because there's a mob war going on. I'll link the video for the first one. I won't go into too much detail about the first one, but he flees with his crew. He's a mob boss, but an under mob boss. Uh, would they call it a captain? I'm not sure, but anyway, he flees with his crew and his newborn son, basically, because his wife dies in hospital. And he takes his father as well, who's aging and dying. And they wind up. It starts out in uh, San Diego, about a year after the ending of the first book, City on Fire. Now, Danny's been trying to lay low, and he wants his crew to lay low as well, but they're not very good at that. They're sort of overgrown children in many ways. But he's taking, like, jobs just to, any job just to make enough money to keep his son going. And he doesn't want to. His mother, Madeline, is in Las Vegas, but he doesn't want to associate with her, at least at this point. But he is very sensitive, and he knows that, when something is up. And he's working at a bar, and he realizes somebody looks at him a little strange, so he takes it on the lam. And he was right to do that, because that person goes back and tells the mob boss in Providence that where he is. So they send out a hitman, but he's already made it, and he flees to Las Vegas, where his mother Madeline is, and he leaves Ian there for quite a while, and he goes back to San Diego, and he's around the West Coast, and he gets his mother makes a meeting between him and a federal agent who wants the federal agent wants Danny to do a job, a very undercover sort of job, but they'll split the money, and it's not that he wants it; he wants it for the agency. It's a little dark in many ways, in that way. So he does it. Him and his crew have millions. They've got to launder it, so it takes time. Uh, but in the meantime, there is in Hollywood a film being made about him and the mob war in New England. So two of his crew, the choir boys, as they're called, go to Hollywood and they muscle in on the film and they try to shake it down, and they're pretty successful doing it. Um, but Danny goes and, you know, fixes it up and tells him don't shake down. He invests in the film, so he's part of this, and he gets hooked up with an actress. Uh, doesn't turn out well. He goes back to eventually he goes back to Las Vegas where his mother is, and he has plans to do something there, but he doesn't know. We do know at the end, because there's a little chapter from the third book. We know what he does, but I'm not gonna sort of spoil that. And yeah, it's that kind of story. There's hits out on him, left, right, and center. Um, because of stuff that he's done. So, and it's very much in the vein of the first book, except I found there's parts that I found quite tedious, and I didn't find that with the first book. I don't think I found it tedious. I just found it just was really fast paced. This one, like the first 50, well, actually, it wasn't until about 100 pages that I started getting into it, and then there was a few lulls. But like the first 50 pages for sure, there's so much talking about what happened in the first book by giving a little bit of information of what's going on currently, but there was too much of what was happening in the first book. And then it slowly disappeared in about around 100 pages. It then picks up, and it actually picks up as a story as well. And then there's a few lulls through it, and I think I found it quite disjointed in many ways. It's quite disjointed because there's jumping around of things, and there's, other than the section headings that you get dates, because it goes over like 3 years, maybe a little more than 3 years, almost 4 years. But you have no sense of time in the story itself. It's other than, his son Ian all of a sudden is talking, and it just seems like like there's no sense that this is happening. Like he does say, wait out a few months, we got to launder the money and all this kind of stuff, but there's no sense of time to me. It's just, it's very flat in that way. And the characters are all reprehensible. The author's trying so hard to make Danny Ryan a likable character. And he does some okay things, but he's a despicable character. They all are. The only character I really like is his mother, Madeline. And we don't actually, for me, get to see her enough. We got her backstory in the first novel, but I really like her. As the character, but we don't get much. She's there, but not there too much. And there's one other character. This sort of sums up all sort of the characters in here, all the male characters for sure. This Bernie, he's sort of the accountant. He's laundering the money, and we get in a paragraph a brief backstory for him where he was going for the priesthood. He saw a woman and fell in lust, and then he says love, and he chucked the priesthood, and then he talks, but she had died 17 years before, and this is where the story is coming from. He's lighting a candle for him being Catholic, and he says that I'll read here. When Bridget, his wife, came to him in tears and sobbed that the doctor said she could never have children, he held her in his arms and whispered, "It's all right. you're all I want, all I need. It's like a typical thing. It's like that tells the character he doesn't give a flying F about her feelings. It's like, oh, I'm okay with it, so everything's gonna be okay. Just complete a-hole, basically. And that's what all the characters are. They're all a-holes. Danny's less of an a-hole, but this guy, Danny, like, it's just too much to believe. This guy can eat grass and he shits out gold. It doesn't matter what he does, what he screws up, what other people screw up for him. He shits gold. And it's a little too much to take as it goes on. But it's still enjoyable. It's a fun ride, except, like I say, there's some really meandering, slow parts that are in it. Like the first 100 pages, it's like, it's just over 300 pages, about 320 pages. And the first 50 pages is basically rehashing with very little of current story of what was in the first one. That's a big chunk of a 300-page book, or just over 300. But anyway, like I say, it was enjoyable. I did like it. And I would, I hope to be able to read the third one just to finish it out. But I'm assuming that'll probably be next year before it's out. And I would like to maybe pick up his Cartel trilogy and see what that's like. I expect very much the same. It's very, very cut down writing. The way it is, it's a little strange. It's as if it's in first person, but it's not Danny telling the story. It's like somebody else is telling the story, and it's not like a omnipotent. In some ways, it is, I guess, narrator, but it's a little different because it's not a narrator that is divorced from everything. He's like the narrator, he, she, or whatever, is giving the opinions about things, and there'll be some dialogue, and then the rest, like another small bit that should be dialogue, but it's not dialogue. It's that the narrator is telling what that person had said. And then we'll have thoughts from the other people. A lot of thoughts from Danny. He's thinking this as if he's talking, but it's his thoughts. And a lot of times it's just one word paragraphs, or very, 3 or 4 words, short sentence paragraphs that just bing, 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 which makes it a very quick read. As I say, this isn't top literature, top shelf literature by any means. It is just bestseller filler, sort of, but that's fine. That's enjoyable in some ways, or can be. And the way he does it, I find it for the most part enjoyable. What else was I going to say? There was something else. No, I've blanked now on what else I was going to say, but it's, like I say, it's a fun read, but it's definitely very cinematic in many ways. You can tell he's writing that way, but like he talks about at the end, his editor is so good and all this stuff, and I'm going, I don't think the editing on this one was very good. It's, there was things that I would put a red pencil through and saying, rewrite this, or get rid of this, but maybe it works for him. But see, the thing is, these things were the things that bothered me in this one weren't in the first one. At least I don't remember them being in the first the first book. So anyway, but you do get the same quote on here, superb, by Stephen King, and no one fuses action and emotion like Don Winslow, the Times Best Crime Books of 2022. It's okay. I think there's a lot better crime books. It's like, you read, it's not a Chandler, it's not a Dashiell Hammett, where there's a feast in the words that you just, there's almost a poetry in the words. It's again not top end literature or top shelf literature, but their stuff has a sparkle to it and there's a class to it. This one, eh. But anyway, sorry. I did enjoy it. So, and I'm looking forward to actually reading more eventually. Not all the time. It's not something that I would read continuously. Definitely. I would not want to pick up another book and read it now. I've had enough of Don Winslow for the moment. In a month or two, yes, possibly. Maybe. Like I say, the Cartel trilogy. But anyway, thank you for watching this if you've got this far. And I will count this as will Shawn like it? And yes, I would say I have. For the most part, it was a fun read, definitely. Thank you, BookTube.